If you enjoy our show, please consider contributing to the Dark and Stormy Patreon. By becoming a patron, you will help us create better and quality content. There are also benefits to becoming a patron, such as exclusive content and Dark and Stormy merchandise. Become a supporter at patreon.com/darkandstormybc. Check our website for the link. We appreciate any and all contributions. Thank you.
Hello and welcome to 2021, episode 147 of Dark and Stormy Book Club. Today we have a visit with a very old friend, one of our favorites, Edwin Hill.
Edwin Hill is the author of the Hester Thursby mystery series, including Little Comfort. He's written for the LA Review of Books, The Life Sentence, Publishers Weekly, and Ellery Queen Mystery Magazine. He is the Vice President and Editorial Director for Bedford St. Martin's, a division of Macmillan. He received a bachelor's degree from Wesleyan University and an MFA from Emerson College. He lives in Boston with his partner Michael and their dog Edith Ann. Watch Her is number 3 in the Hester Thursby mystery series. While attending a gala at Prescott University's lavish new campus, Hester Thursby and fellow guest Detective Angela White are called to the home of the college's owners, Tucker and Jennifer Matson. Jennifer claims that someone broke into Pine Bank, their secluded mansion on the banks of Jamaica Pond. The more Hester and Angela investigate, the less they believe Jennifer's story, leaving Hester to wonder why she would lie. When Hester is asked by the college's general manager to locate some missing alumni, she employs her research skills on the family and their for-profit university. Between financial transgressions, a long-ago tragedy, and rumors of infidelity, it's clear that the Matsons aren't immune to scandal or mishap. But when one of the missing students turns up dead, the mystery takes on new urgency. Hester is edging closer to the truth, but as a decades-old secret collides with new lies, a killer grows more determined to keep the past buried with the dead.
We would like to welcome Dark and Stormy alumni Edwin Hill to the program. He has a wonderful new book coming out called Watch Her.
Hi, everyone. Thanks so much for having me.
Well, Edwin, this is the third in your Hester series. What direction is Hester going in this time?
The second book, which was called The Missing Ones, I took her and her partner Morgan to a very dark place. So for this one, I kind of wanted to head toward a little bit of light as far as their relationship goes. So they're in a place where heading toward a place of real happiness, I think. In this book, Hester is called in to investigate a local for-profit college. I live here in Boston. The school's a fictional for-profit college called Prescott University. And she's hired by a woman named Maxine to find some students who have gone missing from their roster. It seems like a very straightforward, easy case. But as Hester digs in, it becomes more and more complicated. And as she gets to know more and more about the family that owns the school, it becomes more complicated.
Yes, it does. I like the way Hester has grown. The first one, she was a little bit reticent to meet people and do things. The second book, she was almost paranoid. And this, she's become Hester. She's grown.
Yeah, with the character and with this series, I really wanted to see her go through some changes as a person, as we do as we grow. In this series, Hester lives with her partner, Morgan. For the last 3 years, they've been responsible for taking care of Morgan's niece, Kate, who was 3 years old in the first book, 4 years old in the second book. Hester is a woman in her late 30s. She had chosen not to have children, so she wasn't thrilled that suddenly had to take care of a child. And so part of the series has been her coming to terms with the responsibility of having a child and also growing to actually like having the child. I think that at this point, she's very much into having Kate around and probably doesn't want things to change. Hester's always been very independent. She's still very independent. She did spend some time pushing Morgan away as she just sort of got used to being in a relationship with this man. In this book, I really want to explore how to bring them closer and how to bring them closer as a couple would have to be to stay together after many years.
That was a good part of the story, but you know who my favorite character was?
Who?
Angela.
Ah.
I like Angela from the get-go. She's quite the lady.
That is funny because when I was writing my first book, which is called Little Comfort, Angela sort of just appeared out of nowhere. Halfway through the book, there was a murder, and I needed to have a detective, as one does when you're writing a murder story. And so I came up with Angela, and she came into the story maybe 2/3 of the way through. She had a few scenes, and people really liked her. They really responded to her, even though she wasn't even in much of the book. So then when I was finishing up my second book, I had heard from people who had read the first book that they liked her. So I thought, well, why don't I try and work her into this book as well? So I went back and I wove her into some scenes in that book as well. She had a small part from the start, but I built up her role in the second book so that it wasn't a major role, but she was definitely in the book. But I definitely had heard from readers after reading both books that she was one of their favorites. So this time I thought, let's make her a big major character. So that's what I did. And I hope you liked what I did with her.
I seem to remember having a conversation with you that I really liked Angela, and I'm glad to see that she has become a bigger part of the story.
For people who haven't read the series, Angela is a detective. She works for the Boston Police Department. In this book, she's been promoted to detective sergeant, so she runs a little squad at the Boston Police Department. She and Hester are very good friends. In this story, Angela is actually the connection to the crime. She's the one who's actually called in to investigate on the side. And she brings Hester along because Hester's a librarian. There's a book involved, the initial mystery. And so she brings Hester along for her expertise in all things library. So I liked being able to tie the two of them together. And I liked that there was an actual police officer. When you write an amateur sleuth series like mine, it can be challenging. Put your amateur sleuth in the face of danger over and over again. So having an actual police officer side by side with her helps with that.
I hope she continues in all your Hester books.
Oh, she'll be back. Actually, I'm having fun right now. The book I'm working right now is a standalone book. So it's not part of the Hester Thursby series, but it takes place in Boston. And so Angela actually shows up in this one as a very minor character, but she shows up without Hester. So she's even in the non-Hester Thursby books.
Oh, you writers love to do things like that.
I know.
Well, Angela seems to come into the story and tries to take over.
She does a little bit, yeah.
You have to work to get Hester back in there and shove Angela to the side.
My idea for the next Hester book, which I'll work on once I finish the one I'm on right now, Angela will still be there. Hester leaves town for a little bit, so Angela may not be in the whole thing.
Oh, so maybe a book on Angela's story.
Oh, yeah, that might be fun to do, too.
Yeah.
The book you're working on now include anything COVID related?
I've been wrestling with that. It's still in the first draft. Writing up the first draft of a novel is sort of like a nightmare. You're basically doing a puzzle without looking at the picture. You're doing it like upside down. You're trying to put all of these pieces together without having any idea where you're going. So I was thinking about putting COVID into it. I'm starting to think I'm not going to because COVID's just so depressing. When I was writing this book, I finished the manuscript and sent it to my editor in February 2000. And of course, everything changed a few weeks later. He got me his notes for the revision, maybe in March, I think. And then I was working on copy edits in May. When I was fiddling with the last bits of the manuscript, my book, I always pegged them to the year that they come out as far as what days of the week are. So like this book, you could imagine that this book takes place in the spring of 2021. And because it takes place at a college, I was trying to imagine what the world might be like in the spring of 2021 and what it would be like to go to college in the spring of 2021. And I wanted to see if I could work any of the new world into the manuscript. And finally, I just decided, you know what? I just kind of want to live in a world where we still go to parties. And so I'm going to keep the book the way it is. This next one won't come out until 2022. And my hope is that we'll be in a new place, whatever that new place is.
Oh, please.
And I hope it's one where we meet people in person.
Yes.
I missed Mouse Domestic so much this year.
I did too.
So hopefully next year we'll all be able to connect again.
I imagine that authors now, they have quite a lot of time on their hands, and we'll see lots of books coming out. And it'll be curious to see who jumps on the COVID bandwagon and who doesn't.
There are lots of ways to do it, and I think you can do it in an interesting way. When I was starting to draft this book, I was thinking about having it set in March of 2020. March of 2020, I think, is a month that everyone's going to remember. Looking back on it now, just a few months later, it's so interesting to see how individuals dealt with March of 2020 as the world changed so rapidly and as things shut down. I very much remember distinctly March 13th, which was the last time I went out to a very crowded bar. Everyone in the bar, we all knew we were doing something we shouldn't do, and there were a ton of people there. It wasn't a positive energy, but there was this weird energy in the air because of this thing that was hanging over us. And so I thought that might be interesting to explore in a mystery novel. So I may still do that. Who knows? I don't know if people are going to want to read about COVID next year, you know?
Yeah, I get that too. Yeah, people do want it to go away.
To be honest with you, I'm done with it now.
Well, Tracy actually had COVID.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Wow.
My family did.
So we had to stay away from her for a month.
We were lucky we didn't get it in our lungs or anything. We just were very, very tired and
sick.
Yeah.
Oh, I hope you feel better now, and all my thoughts with you.
Thank you. It was a couple months ago, and we came through it just fine. My husband and myself work at jobs that we could work from home, and then just kept on trucking.
COVID will make a good historical novel, like the 1917 flu.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I keep thinking, especially almost like an Agatha Christie, like everybody's locked in.
Yeah. And the murderer was wearing a mask.
Yeah.
But so was the victim and everybody else. Okay, Edwin, in your note to us, you said we were an influence on your writing this book.
Aha.
Aha. Tell us more.
See, now it's an unfair advantage because she had the books at her house, and this is the first time we've seen her, so we have not had a chance to read it yet.
Oh, well, I'm not going to give it away because it's something that happens in the end. How can I put this so it doesn't give it away?
Does it involve Morgan?
It does involve Morgan. Let's just say that
I know what it is.
Hester makes a decision in this book. I think it's in the 5th to last chapter. She makes a decision, and you influenced that decision.
Good. Well, we were so thrilled and honored that you added us to your acknowledgments in the back of the book.
Oh, well, you guys have been great support. Appreciate it so much.
Well, thank you. It was really, really very special to us.
Yes, it was an honor. We've never been acknowledged before by anybody, even our family. They say, oh, you know her, that person. We appreciate it.
So how are things in your neck of the woods in Boston? How are things faring up there?
It is okay. It seems like we can't even leave Massachusetts anymore. Like, I spent most of my summer, I haven't left New England this summer, but it was nice to be able to go up to New Hampshire and to Maine and as the summer was going on. But now cases have gotten worse recently, and I personally think it's important to really take this seriously right now and buckle down and try to eradicate this as much as we can. Everyone here wears masks when you see people out. I live in Boston, but I live near a lot of outdoor area, so there's lots of places to go walking. And I have my wonderful Edith Ann, who's my Labrador retriever, so I am able to get outside. But I mean, this is a year we're never going to forget.
Unfortunately, yes.
But you have to look on the bright side sometimes, and there have been some very creative ways for people to get through it. Like I did see, I think, where you were involved with Noir at the bar.
Yeah, that was actually really fun. And I think I'm going to start that up again now that the weather's getting colder. So I was hosting a Noir at the Bar New England, which is an online program for authors in New England. I would usually have one or two people who were not from New England as well. If you've never been to a Noir at the Bar, it's basically a poetry slam with murder. So people would come and they would read maybe a page or two from their book or a work in progress. We had great turnout. We had, maybe 100, 150 people show up for each session. So we did 4 of those. They're archived and they're on my website, edwin-hill.com, if you want to go listen to any of those. And again, I think I'll start those up again now that it's getting a little colder and people are rushing back inside.
Let us know and we'll put a notice out on our website.
Awesome. That would be